Now to the shutdown showdown on Capitol Hill, and this morning it appears a government shutdown might be avoided. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer now says he will support the funding bill passed by the House.
Other Democrats are expected to join Schumer in supporting the bill, getting it to the threshold it needs in order to pass in the Senate. 7 News' John Gonzalez is live on Capitol Hill now with where things stand this morning. And John, a vote's expected to happen sometime today, right?
That's right. And before that vote, Melanie, things are going to heat up. This standoff will heat up here hours before the deadline to shut down the government. Now, even though 51 votes are needed to pass a bill here on Capitol Hill, 60 names are needed to move a legislation to a vote. So that's what's going to be happening today. Some wheeling and dealing. Republicans believe they have the numbers, but at what cost? Now, let's look forward. Let's play some what ifs here. Essential government workers, those who are required to keep vital services running, will not get a break. If the government does indeed shut down at midnight, some will be forced to continue to work without pay. So here's what's on the table. Senate Democrats are proposing a 30-day continuing resolution authored by Senator Patty Murray out of Washington State. The other option, of course, is the House CR that was passed earlier this week, which includes those cuts of about $1 billion to the local government here in D.C. 7 News has reported the cuts include $350 million from public and charter schools, $75 million from MPD, and a $216 million loss for Metro. Shadow Senator Paul Strauss, who represents the district, tells me maybe it's time to just start from scratch.
Maybe it makes sense to just put the pause on all of this dismantling of these government agencies, which is essentially a shutdown by 1,000 cuts, if it were, and have a real conversation about what Congress wants its priority to be. I think it makes sense to look at deficit reduction if that's supposedly a Republican priority. I think it makes sense to make sure that the District of Columbia local budget, which isn't federally subsidized, this is the dollars that DC taxpayers pay as individuals, as business owners.
Now, thanks to the 2019 Government Shutdown Prevention Act, if there is a government shutdown tonight, back pay must be provided to the majority of furloughed workers. However, with the instability and the uncertain times with the federal government right now, many aren't sure exactly how that would work, and they worry that there could be a paycheck problem and delay. Senator Paul Strauss telling me that perhaps those folks that are in charge of issuing those furloughed paychecks are the ones being laid off. So the clock is ticking here on Capitol Hill. Reporting live, John Gonzalez, 7 News.
John, thank you. And as John said, Democrats are divided over this funding bill, with some moving to support it, others rejecting it. But they do agree it fails to slap any limits on President Trump and Elon Musk's efforts to gut federal operations. Virginia Senators Kaine and Warner plan to vote no on that bill. And here's why Senator Kaine said he is not going to support it.
Each of the representatives from the different service branches said the same thing. They said the House CR will hurt national security. It was insulting, not just to Virginia, not just to veterans, not just to priorities I care about like national defense, but it's insulting to the Senate for the House to pass this thing and say, okay, we did it with no Democratic involvement, and now we're giving it to you, but we're going to leave town.
Democrats had been pushing for a stopgap 30-day funding bill to buy more time for negotiations. Of course, stay with 7 News. The senators are expected to vote on this funding bill today, potentially avoiding a government shutdown. Our coverage continues throughout the morning and on WJLA.com.